As a longtime user of the reMarkable line of products, including the reMarkable 2 and the new reMarkable Paper Pro, I'm constantly looking for other solutions, other products out there in the space that can do the same thing and maybe do it better or at a better price. And today I'm taking a look at one of those offerings that might just have what it takes to be a better option than the reMarkable for you. And that's the Kindle Scribe. Now, this is not just going to be my unboxing, hands-on, and review of the Scribe, but I'm also going to put it head-to-head against my reMarkable Paper Pro. This product obviously is much closer to a reMarkable 2 in terms of features, size, price point, etc. than the reMarkable Paper Pro, but I own the reMarkable 2 for years, so I've got a pretty good sense of where the overlap is, and as a current reMarkable Paper Pro user, surprisingly, the Kindle Scribe actually does a few things better than the more expensive reMarkable. So first, let's talk about the Scribe and what it is, what it does. It is a major step up from a normal Kindle. If you're familiar with that, that's Amazon's line of ebook readers for their Kindle store. And the Scribe has a much larger 10.2-inch active canvas screen. Active canvas is what Amazon/Kindle is effectively calling this e-ink display. For all intents and purposes, the display tech is nearly the same as what's going on the reMarkable. The Scribe is priced very competitively compared to other writing tablets, including the reMarkable. But does it really match up? Are you getting the same thing at a much lower price because of the economies of scale that Amazon has to offer? Let's start by talking about price. And the Scribe itself is 429 Canadian dollars. With the Scribe and this blue fabric folio cover, I paid just over 500 Canadian dollars. Similarly priced reMarkable 2 right now today would set you back closer to 780 Canadian dollars, and a Paper Pro would set you back about 1,000 Canadian dollars or so. And even other offerings from the likes of Books with the Go 10.3, that would run you closer to about $580. So the Scribe definitely has price point going for it, no doubt about it. But it is worth noting that this is a far cry price-wise from a normal Kindle. They are miles apart, so if you're going to get the Scribe, you really should make sure that you want the features that it offers on top of the Kindle functionality, because if you just want an ebook reader, this is way overpriced for that. More about that in a bit. Now, in terms of functionality on deck, the Scribe does go toe-to-toe with the rest of the brands and companies and products out there. It, of course, has the ability to write on screen. You can take notes, you can highlight, you can sideload up your PDF files, you can mark those up. You can, of course, convert your written notes into text and email them out to yourself. And it's a Kindle, so it has the Kindle store baked, built in, out of the gate, no side loading, no need to find EPUBs and load those up. You can just access your Kindle account and you can do markup on those books as well. An interesting choice is that the Scribe has actually kind of used the Kindle storefront as the homepage of the device. So when you open up and wake up the Kindle Scribe, you don't get your notebooks as your initial page. You get the Kindle storefront with a recently opened tab at the top. Notebooks, however, are actually located under a different tab at the bottom of the screen. And on top of these features, the Scribe actually does a few things that even the more expensive reMarkable Paper Pro doesn't do. For example, it's got a frontlit display, which you do not see on the reMarkable 2, only on that reMarkable Paper Pro, which is about twice the price. And the Scribe has a built-in web browser. Now, despite it having limited RAM, it's pretty capable and certainly nice to have if you're doing a research paper and you're taking notes or something in a class or a lecture. To be able to go on the web and look up in more detail some of those topics that you're researching or writing about and then switch back to your notebook is pretty handy. And again, as I said in my last review of the reMarkable Paper Pro, the hardware is excellent on that device, but the functionality now is starting to feel a little bit behind what the hardware itself can do. Now, let's talk about the design of the Scribe. I've been using it for about 2 weeks now, and honestly, the bezels on this thing are pretty chunky, but it didn't really interfere or change my experience with this device. The Scribe feels very well built, and its form factor, which is more wide than tall compared to the reMarkable line, makes it nice to hold in the hand. You can still use it single-handedly, not a problem. And of course, its active canvas display, which again is basically e-ink for all intents and purposes, looks great in all conditions. These screens are absolutely the best for use outside. On a sunny day, there's no reflection, no glare. So now let's put these two sets of products, the reMarkable and the Scribe, head to head. Is the Scribe really worth the extra cost over a normal Kindle? And can it really go toe-to-toe with the best in class from reMarkable? Well, I'm surprised and happy to say I actually think the Kindle Scribe is pretty close to the reMarkable in terms of the writing on-screen experience. It's not better and it's not the same, but it's very, very similar. It's interesting, but the sound of putting the pens onto the screens of each of these devices is distinctly different, and the feeling likewise is distinctly different too. They of course achieve the same result from a writing perspective, but ultimately I do have to say that writing on the reMarkable just feels a little bit more natural, a bit more normal, a bit more similar or akin to the real writing experience you get with pen and paper, which is of course what reMarkable has built their entire brand about trying to replicate. I would say writing on the Scribe feels pretty natural, but it is more like writing on an iPad screen than an e-ink screen or a reMarkable device. It's not bad. However, I think over a long-term writing session, you might start to feel some fatigue because you can just tell there's more friction, there's more tension being caused when you're writing, which will lead to fatigue in the long run. So if you were just looking to get a Kindle device that you could also take notes on, I would say the Scribe is a great choice for you. However, if you're an artist or a creative and you want to be able to do more than just take notes on your Scribe, full stop, don't do it. The reMarkable is just so much better for drawing and for creative use. With the reMarkable and its pen, you can just get so much more capability and function out of it. You can apply different levels of pressure, you can angle the pen on approach to the screen, and you can get far more artistic strokes and appearing imagery when drawing on the reMarkable. Not to mention the fact the reMarkable just gives you way more control over the appearance of the pen itself than the Scribe. With the Scribe, it's very much what you see is what you get, both with the pen and the highlighter tool. The reMarkable, on the other hand, has numerous sizes and tip styles to choose from in all of the different markup modes, and this gives you way more flexibility and options to create what you want to. The Scribe really doesn't do art well. When you angle the pen on the Scribe screen, if you get anything, you just get a solid line. It all looks the same regardless of how much pressure you apply. This is fine, again, for taking notes. You can definitely write on this thing, no problem, and it actually gives you probably a more consistent writing look than what the reMarkable does. But what the reMarkable does better is it is more accurately able to translate the pressure and angle of the pen on the screen into a realistic appearing image. So if you angle the pen, you can get shades of whatever color you're drawing in. Now, if this limitation is purely down to software, then no problem. The Scribe can probably get there with time and improvement with over-the-air updates, but I can say that as of the time of this recording, it's not there. It's not capable of doing any of the artistic stuff. And another interesting missing feature from the note-taking experience on the Scribe, being able to use text. The reMarkable allows you to mix typed text in different font sizes and heading sizes into your documents anytime you want. There is no restriction about how you can use text versus hand-drawn, handwriting. It's all mixed together, and that is of course very nice to have. And if you're doing more complex markup work, you want to be able to do some typing from time to time. It's just not the case on the Scribe. There's no text tool at all and no way to bring up the on-screen keyboard in Notes. Now you can add typed notes in the book view in the Scribe and do markup that way, but not in the note view. Unfortunately, just doesn't exist. But again, probably could be fixed with an over-the-air software update down the road. Now, there are two big areas where I actually think the Scribe blows even the top-end reMarkable Paper Pro out of the water. And the first is that front light on the display. So as I already mentioned, on the lower-priced reMarkable 2, there isn't even a front light. So that means if you want a tit-for-tat product, you have to go up to the far more expensive reMarkable Paper Pro. But Even against that more expensive model, which is about twice the price, the Scribe's front light is significantly brighter overall. And it has an adjustment layer for not just brightness, but also screen warmth. So you can adjust the temperature of the display depending on the time of day. If it's getting later in the day, you want to go with a warmer display to ease the pressure on your eyes. And this is just completely missing on the reMarkable Paper Pro. I'd also say from a hardware level that there's far less vignetting and bleed from the front light in the corners of the displays. Even at full brightness, I feel like the Scribe just has a cleaner edge-to-edge appearance and continuity to the front light. The Paper Pro, unfortunately, has a little bit of bleeding, a little bit of vignetting on those corners. Honestly, the brightness on the Scribe makes the Paper Pro's display just look completely washed out when you put them side by side. The second big area of difference is the battery life. Now, when I reviewed the Paper Pro over a long period of time, I noted that using the front light does bring the battery life down significantly over what you experienced on the reMarkable 2. That device, the reMarkable 2, could run for weeks on end. I love the battery life on that thing. I was easily getting 3 to 5 weeks. With the reMarkable Paper Pro, I'm closer to that 3-week mark. But with the Scribe, after 2 weeks of on and off use with that front light, I've still got about 40% of my battery remaining. So comparing that to the reMarkable Paper Pro's 3 weeks of life I typically get, this one's probably going to average out at about 4, maybe even 5 weeks, putting it on par with the front lightless reMarkable 2. Now, be careful when you are buying the Scribe, because Amazon says this device will last for 12 weeks on a single charge, and I'm here to tell you that claim is utter bullshit. That figure has been calculated based on 30 minutes of use each day reading, not writing, reading. And for that, you could get a normal Kindle and it's going to last you that much time too. You don't need the Scribe. I think saying between 3 and 5 weeks of normal, full-rounded use on the Scribe is the true number. 12 weeks, get out of here. That's crazy. If you want a device that's actually going to last 12 weeks, look at a fully different device altogether. The Scribe's not going to get you that much battery. Now, last but not least, we do have to talk about the accessories that are available for both of these sets of products. Now, I currently own the keyboard case for the reMarkable Paper Pro, and I used to own it on the reMarkable 2. So right off the hop, I'm going to tell you there is no keyboard case available for the Scribe whatsoever. And I think this goes back to the fact that they do not enable text entry in note-taking mode. That's not really what they're framing the Scribe to be for. Now, luckily for the sake of this comparison, the general styling of the keyboard case on the reMarkable is basically the same as what they're doing over here on the Kindle. And in terms of fit and finish, I think both are very lovely. They're both well made and they feel good in the hands, but I am a big sucker for blue, and I will say that the Scribe just does colors on their cases far nicer than what reMarkable's offering. reMarkable is going for more of a muted, maybe more professional look with their finishes like this basalt finish on the keyboard case that I have here. Unfortunately, I think that's where the Scribe's case ends in terms of being better than the reMarkable's. And the first major reason is how it's secured. There is no clasp on the Scribe folio case. On the reMarkable cases, there's a magnetic latch that folds over the front and back side, basically locking the hinge shut. I would not trust the Scribe's folio case to stay closed over a long period of time, or if you were on the go with it. Even just applying a little bit of pressure on the bottom starts to slide it up immediately. I've put this device with the case on in my bag a few times, and each time I've gone to pick it up, the case has been partially removed. So it definitely doesn't keep the Scribe very secure. Although I will say it's a little bit looser in general because it has a trifold finish on the front, and this does allow it to be converted into more of a kickstand design. So you can use your Scribe on a desk or other flat surface at an angle. That is nice to have, but I would still prefer something that secures this rather expensive device a little bit more efficiently. And another weak point for the Scribe's folio case and the Scribe in general is where the pen is stored. The reMarkable 2 and the Paper Pro both magnetically latch their pens onto the side of the device when not in use, keeping them secured no matter what. The Scribe doesn't have a magnetic connection for the pen. So if you do not buy a folio case at all, you just have to let it roll around freely. You don't get anything to connect it to or store it with. That's a huge missed opportunity. What they've opted for on the folio case instead is this loop on the front side of the case. And I don't find it that ergonomically friendly, elegant, or easy to slide my pen in and out of in general. Honestly, when you're walking around with it, it kind of just gets in the way. And what I've come to learn over time of owning the reMarkables is that if the pen is not securely fastened in a way where the pen tip is not going to be getting caught on things, the pen tip is going to wear down very quickly and you're going to have to replace it. Luckily, the Scribe, like all of the reMarkables, does ship with a few replacements in the box, but I would not say that you're going to get a very long lifespan out of the pen tip on the Kindle Scribe because of the way it is stored and transported with these folio cases. So all in all then, what do I think of the Scribe versus the reMarkable and on its own as a standalone device? Well, if price point is the major factor for you and you want a device that you can read on and take notes on, I think the Scribe's a pretty serious contender and it's something you should definitely take a look at because it does best out everything else in its class, not just from reMarkable, but again, Books and other competitors in terms of price and capability for that price. However, if you're primarily an ebook user and you think you might just occasionally take notes, I don't know if it's worth justifying the big jump up in price from a normal Kindle to this device. It is significantly more expensive than the other models in Amazon's Kindle lineup. And as I talked about, if you're a creative type, I would not even consider the Scribe for you. You're not going to have the flexibility, control, and capability that you are in even the lower priced reMarkable 2. The only thing you'd be missing out on that device would be the Kindle compatibility, the convenient web browser, which reMarkable could add down the road during a software update if they really wanted to, and of course that excellent backlight. But all that said, I do enjoy the experience of reading on the Scribe better. The screen is just the right size. It's easy enough to maneuver with one hand. You can make it as bright as you want for reading at nighttime. And that warmth adjustment on the screen is fantastic and a very nice feature to have. I think for a first iteration, the Scribe is pretty good. And again, for note-taking, it is quite good, but there's a lot that needs to be added and there's still a lot left to be desired from a creative point of view with the Scribe's current feature set. But as always, let's have a conversation down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the Scribe. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you have one or do you want one? Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Thank you guys for watching and we'll see you again soon in the next video.